Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive.
I'm excited about this one.
Me too. It's November 10th, and as always,
Lots to uncover.
yeah, we're going to be looking at this date throughout history, so we'll be kind of jumping around a bit chronologically.
Time traveling as always.
Exactly. And our main source today is this really interesting Arabic Wikipedia entry on November 10th.
I loved this one. Right away it mentions how November 10th, 2024 is also Rabi al-Thani 29.
Rabi al-Thani 29, 1446 AH, to be precise.
Wow, of course, the Islamic calendar.
Yeah, and that's always cool to think about how different cultures mark time differently. Like, we're so used to our Gregorian calendar.
Right, it just feels natural to us.
Right, it just feels natural to us. But
It's totally arbitrary.
And it is solar-based, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But the Islamic calendar is a lunar calendar, so it's based on the cycles of the moon, which means the dates shift.
About 11 days earlier each year.
Exactly,
Yeah.
compared to the Gregorian calendar. So that's just something interesting to keep in mind as we're looking at this date.
It's all relative, right? Totally. But anyway. So for us on the Gregorian calendar, November 10th is the 314th day of the year.
With 51 days left to go.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So we're getting close to the end of the year. But okay, are you ready to jump back in time?
Always. Let's go.
All right. Let's start with 1444.
Ooh, okay.
The Battle of Varna. Have you heard of this one?
I have, yeah. It was a big one for the Ottoman Empire, right?
Huge. It was like this clash of titans. You've got the Ottomans led by Sultan Murad II.
Ambitious guy.
Yeah, and
No.
they're facing off against this coalition of European forces.
Trying to stop their advance.
Exactly. This battle was pivotal. It really determined the fate of empires and redrew the map of Europe.
It wasn't just about territory, though, was it?
No, not at all. I mean, it was definitely about military might, but it was also this huge clash of cultures and religions and ideologies.
The Ottomans representing the rising power of Islam.
And the Europeans, determined to halt that advance.
High stakes.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
I mean, the tension must have been incredible. Both sides were really innovative, using all kinds of new tactics and weaponry.
And the fighting was brutal.
Yeah. But in the end, the Ottomans had this secret weapon.
The Janissaries.
Yeah. This elite corps of soldiers. They were just fierce, renowned for their discipline and just totally ruthless.
They were a deciding factor in the Ottoman victory, right?
For sure. So tell me more about these Janissaries. What made them so formidable?
Well, they were unique. They were actually recruited as young boys from Christian communities within the Ottoman Empire.
Wow.
Yeah. And they were converted to Islam and given this super rigorous military training from a very young age.
Like indoctrinated.
Yeah. It instilled unwavering loyalty to the Sultan. And like I said, they had this just terrifying reputation on the battlefield.
That's incredible. So the Ottomans win. What happens next? What are the lasting implications?
Well, for one thing, it really solidified Ottoman dominance in the Balkans. You know, this was a region that had been contested for centuries.
Right.
And this victory basically paved the way for their continued expansion into Europe.
Which would shape the geopolitical landscape for centuries?
Exactly. I mean, in a way, you could see the echoes of this battle, even in the borders and alliances we see today.
Oh, for sure. But like we were saying, it wasn't just about territory. It had huge cultural and religious ramifications, too.
Yeah, the victory really cemented the Ottoman Empire's image as this, champion of Islam,
Right.
further solidifying its role as a major player on the world stage.
It's wild to think how this one event, this battle on November 10th, 1444, sent these shockwaves through history.
Changed the course of empires and
Yeah.
really left a permanent mark on the world.
Yeah, and just to add another layer to this, the battle also resulted in the death of the Polish king.
Władysław III. He was only 20 years old.
Wow. Talk about a stark reminder of the human cost of these conflicts.
Definitely.
Well, okay, let's shift gears a bit. Fast forward a couple of centuries and travel to the East African coast,
Ooh.
1729, the liberation of Mombasa from Portuguese rule.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah. So for over 2 centuries, the Portuguese had controlled these key ports along the East African coast. They really exerted their influence.
Controlled a lot of the trade.
Right. But by the early 18th century, their grip was starting to loosen.
And someone saw an opportunity.
Exactly. The forces of Muscat.
Backed by the Omani Empire.
Yeah. They had their own ambitions. So they laid siege to Mombasa, determined to take control of this strategically important port city.
So it wasn't just some local conflict.
No, it was part of this much larger power struggle, for dominance in the Indian Ocean trade network.
High stakes again.
Always high stakes.
Ugh.
And, the Portuguese, despite their long history in the region, were up against a tough opponent.
The forces of Muscat were really skilled in naval warfare.
And they were backed by the Omani Empire, like you said.
A force to be reckoned with.
Exactly. So after a hard-fought struggle, they succeeded in liberating Mombasa from Portuguese control.
A turning point.
Yeah. I mean, it really signaled this major shift in the balance of power in East Africa.
The Portuguese influence waning and the Omani Empire rising.
Right. So November 10th isn't just about battles in Europe.
It's a global date.
It is. It's about liberation movements and the reshaping of global trade routes.
And that's just the beginning. I'm sure as we get closer to the modern era, we'll see even more pivotal events on this date.
Oh, yeah, we've got a lot more to cover. International diplomacy, groundbreaking innovations, captivating cultural figures, all coming up.
Can't wait.
Yeah. So stay tuned, everyone. We'll be right back with part 2 of our deep dive into November 10th throughout history. Welcome back, everyone, to our deep dive into November 10th.
It's amazing how much history is packed into a single date.
I know, right? And we're just getting started, so where were we?
We were talking about shifting powers and global trade.
Right. But, November 10th isn't just about battles and empires. It's also about innovation and ideas that shaped the world.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, speaking of innovation, November 10th marks the birth of a force that's become synonymous with American military might.
Let me guess. The Marines.
You got it. November 10th, 1775. Right in the middle of the American Revolution.
Wow, so they've been around that long.
Yep. The Continental Congress authorized the formation of 2 battalions of Marines. Initially, they were envisioned as this specialized force.
For amphibious warfare.
Exactly. They had to be able to fight both at sea and on land, providing security on ships repelling borders, conducting raids.
The old tats multitaskers.
Right from the start. And their motto, Semper Fidelis.
Always faithful.
Yep. It really speaks to their dedication and loyalty, from those early days fighting for independence to all the conflicts they've been involved in since.
They've definitely earned their reputation for courage, resilience, fighting spirit.
It's pretty amazing to think it all started on this date back in 1775.
It is, from a pivotal moment in American history to a global force.
And from the battlefield to the bustling streets of our modern cities, November 10th also saw the birth of an invention that revolutionized transportation.
Wait, are you talking about the electric railway system?
That's the one. November 10th, 1891, Granville T. Woods.
A brilliant inventor.
An African-American inventor, to be precise. He received a patent for his electric railway system, and it was a game changer.
Because before that, it was all horse-drawn carriages and steam-powered trains.
Right. Noisy, polluting, inefficient.
And then comes Woods with this groundbreaking invention.
His system used overhead electrical wires to power the trains, so no more bulky steam engines.
And that made urban transportation cleaner, faster, more efficient.
And paved the way for modern subway systems that we rely on today.
It's incredible to think about this technology that we take for granted. Its roots are all the way back in 1891.
Thanks to the ingenuity of Granville T. Woods.
And he wasn't a one-hit wonder either.
Oh no, he was a prolific inventor. Over 50 patents to his name.
Wow.
And all this despite facing, significant racial prejudice and discrimination.
A true testament to his brilliance and perseverance.
Absolutely. So we've got military might and technological advancements.
But November 10th is also a birthday for some pretty influential figures.
People who shaped history in their own unique ways.
Where do we even begin?
Well, we can't talk about November 10th without mentioning Martin Luther.
The father of the Protestant Reformation.
Born on this date in 1483.
He really challenged the authority of the Catholic Church.
And reshaped Christianity as we know it.
His 95 Theses, nailed to the church door in Wittenberg.
1517, sparked a theological firestorm.
He was questioning the church's practices, especially the sale of indulgences.
And advocating for a more personal relationship between believers and God.
So this wasn't just some academic debate. He was calling for a fundamental shift in how people understood their faith.
And his ideas resonated with a lot of people. People who were disillusioned with the church.
Looking for a more authentic form of religious expression.
Exactly. And the Protestant Reformation led to new denominations of Christianity.
And had a huge impact on European history, politics, culture, art, education.
And it all started with Martin Luther, born on November 10th.
A truly historical birthday.
And from religious revolution, we moved to a figure whose invention, while groundbreaking, became intertwined with a more somber aspect of human history.
Conflict and warfare.
Right. November 10th, 1919. Mikhail Kalashnikov.
The creator of the AK-47.
The Avtomat Kalashnikova model, 1947 to be precise.
That's a name that carries a lot of weight.
It does. one of the most widely produced and recognizable firearms in the world.
And used in countless conflicts.
It's known for its simplicity, reliability, affordability.
So what made it such a game changer?
Well, Kalashnikov was a tank mechanic during World War II, and he designed the AK-47 to be functional and easy to manufacture.
So it was more about practicality than aesthetics.
Exactly. The simple design made it cheap to produce and easy to maintain,
Even in harsh conditions.
which unfortunately made it readily available to armies and other groups engaged in conflict.
And its proliferation has had a huge impact on modern warfare.
Its iconic silhouette has become a symbol of armed struggle.
And the devastating consequences of conflict.
It's a sobering thought. An invention born on this date intended for defense.
Becoming so closely associated with violence.
It really highlights the complex and often unintended consequences of technology.
Okay, well, let's shift gears again and talk about someone who brought joy and beauty to the world.
Sounds good.
November 10th, 1927.
Saba, the legendary Lebanese singer and actress.
Sabar, known as Sharura.
The songbird.
Her voice was incredible, and she had this amazing stage presence.
And she was in the entertainment industry for decades.
A true icon.
Her music was this beautiful fusion of traditional Arabic melodies with modern influences.
Yeah, I've heard that. Like, she incorporated jazz and pop and even Western classical music.
She wasn't afraid to experiment.
And her performances were legendary, full of energy and emotion and charm.
She captivated audiences for decades.
And she was also a prominent actress.
Dozens of films and theatrical productions.
Her talent really shone on both stage and screen.
And her roles often challenged societal norms, explored themes of love, loss, female empowerment.
She used her platform to entertain and inspire and challenge conventions.
A true symbol of artistic excellence.
And speaking of powerful figures, we can't forget another birth on November 10th.
Emperor Hirohito of Japan.
Born in 1928.
His reign was one of the most tumultuous periods in Japanese history.
World War II, the country's defeat, and then its rise as an economic powerhouse.
It was a time of immense challenges and remarkable transformations.
And Hirohito's role during World War II is still debated by historians.
There are different views on his influence and responsibility.
But after the war, he became a symbol of national unity and reconciliation.
He guided Japan through reconstruction and modernization.
So from battlefields to concert halls, from revolutionary technology to the rise and fall of empires.
November 10th has seen it all.
It really highlights the complexities of history and the impact of individuals and ideas.
But our journey isn't over yet.
We'll be back with part 3 of our deep dive.
Exploring how November 10th continues to shape our world in the 21st century.
Welcome back, everyone. We're now in the 21st century, still exploring November 10th.
And it's fascinating how this date continues to be so significant.
Yeah, even with all our advancements, it's still a day marked by triumphs and tragedies.
Progress and setbacks. It's a reminder that history is always unfolding.
Exactly. And speaking of setbacks, one event that really highlights the power of nature happened on November 10th, 2013.
Typhoon Haiyan.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
One of the strongest typhoons ever recorded.
It slammed into the Philippines,
leaving behind just devastating destruction.
The images were just heartbreaking. Flattened villages, flooded streets, families struggling to survive.
It's hard to even grasp the scale of the damage.
Thousands of lives lost, countless people displaced, billions of dollars in damage.
A stark reminder of how vulnerable we are to these extreme weather events.
Especially coastal communities.
And what's really striking is that Typhoon Haiyan wasn't just a local event.
Right, it continued westward.
Impacting Vietnam and other parts of Southeast Asia.
Showing how interconnected everything is.
Global weather patterns, the far-reaching effects of climate change.
It's a sobering thought, how a storm in one part of the world can have such a huge impact elsewhere.
It really underscores the need for international cooperation to address climate change.
Absolutely. But even amidst tragedies, November 10th has also seen moments of hope and diplomatic progress.
Like in 2019.
Oh yeah, King Abdullah II of Jordan reclaimed those territories from Israel.
Bakora and Gomer.
A significant moment in the relationship between those two countries.
Can you remind me about the history of those territories?
Yeah, they were these strategically important agricultural areas along the Jordan River,
right,
leased to Israel under the 1994 peace treaty.
Okay.
But they held a lot of symbolic significance for Jordan.
It was a matter of national pride.
So their return was a big deal.
It was a step towards strengthening relations.
Showing the potential for diplomacy and peace.
Even in a region with such a long history of conflict.
Exactly. It showed a willingness to build trust and address sensitive issues.
Essential for any lasting peace.
And on that same day in 2019, another major political event happened.
In South America,
Evo Morales resigned as president of Bolivia.
a turning point for the country.
He had been in power for nearly 14 years.
Bolivia's first indigenous president.
His policies focused on poverty reduction, social inclusion, nationalizing industries.
But his re-election bid in 2019 sparked controversy.
Protests, allegations of electoral fraud,
It fueled a lot of public anger.
and led to demands for his resignation.
So you had this clash,
Between his supporters and those who felt he had become too authoritarian,
a real challenge to the balance of power.
and the role of democratic institutions.
It raised important questions about political transitions
It really shows how fragile democracy can be,
and how important it is to uphold democratic values.
no matter where you are in the world.
Well said. So as we wrap up this journey through November 10th, what are your final thoughts?
Honestly, it's just incredible how much has happened on this one date.
From medieval battles to modern political dramas,
Wars, revolutions, inventions, the rise and fall of empires.
and the legacies of individuals who shaped the world,
It shows how interconnected everything is,
and how history is a living tapestry,
woven from countless threads.
each one a story waiting to be uncovered.
Exactly. And our exploration doesn't have to end here.
We've just scratched the surface.
There's so much more to discover about these events and these people.
What if we dig deeper into Granville T. Woods and his impact on technology?
Or explore the cultural influence of Saba's music and films.
The possibilities are endless.
History is a never-ending journey.
And we encourage you to keep exploring, keep questioning, keep diving deeper.
Find the stories that spark your curiosity.
Who knows what you might uncover?
Maybe you'll rewrite our understanding of the past.
And shed new light on the present.
And if you find something interesting, share it with us.
We'd love to hear about your discoveries.
Use the hashtag DeepDiveKnow of 10.
Until next time, keep exploring the fascinating world of history.